Moedim l'simcha. A happy holiday to all. Hope everyone is enjoying Pesach, and thanks for joining us today here at the Anshe Sfard Beth Elameth congregation here in Memphis, Tennessee. We say Moedim l'simcha, joyous holidays for joy. Chag Sameach, happy holiday. Is it really a holiday? We know that the first day, the last day of Pesach is a holiday according to the Torah. We know that in the diaspora we observe the first 2 days of Pesach, the last 2 days of Pesach. And now we're in Chol Hamoed, intermediate days of Pesach. Is it a holiday or isn't it a holiday? The classic term for this period of time is Chol Hamoed. It's the weekday time of the holiday. The weekday time of the holiday? Is it a weekday or is it a holiday? What is it? What is the nature of Chol Hamoed? Is Pesach a 7-day holiday or is it a 2 or 4 day holiday? 2 days at the beginning, here in diaspora, 2 days at the end. What is it? Are we now in the midst of Pesach in a real sense, or are we sort of in the, what they call in English, the intermediate days? You know, it's sort of the minor leagues. It's neither here nor there. Not really Pesach, not really not Pesach. What is it? What is this strange bird, this twilight zone, known as Chol Hamoed, the intermediate days of Pesach? The Gemara in Chagiga seems to derive the notion of Chol Hamoed from a variety of sources, each rabbi having his own clever way of deriving the notion of what Chol Hamoed is all about. Let's take a look at the Gemara in Chagiga, Daf Yud Ches, page 18. There the Gemara says that the rabbis taught, it was a Braita, an outside source, that if you read the verses in a clever way, it says that Chag HaMatzot Tishmor Shivat Yamim. You should observe the holiday of the matzah 7 days. Now actually it says you should observe the holiday of matzot, period. 7 days you should eat matzah. But if we read it differently, if we read it in a nuanced midrashic way, it says 7 days you should observe et Chag HaMatzot Tishmor Shivat Yamim. 7 days of observance. So Pesach is a 7-day holiday. We are now in the midst of Pesach. Happy holiday, Chag Sameach. That's one interpretation. Rabbi Yoshia, great authority from the early rabbinic period. Rabbi Yonatan, his friend, says, that's a kal vachomer. It's a logical argument. He says, what's the argument? He says, look, the first day of Pesach, all of a sudden you just jump into the first day. The day before Pesach wasn't so holy, but you jump into the first day of Pesach. And then afterwards, no particular holiness after the first day of Pesach, or after the last day of Pesach, there's no holiness. And yet the first and last day are holy. But the middle days, which are surrounded by holiness from before and after, the first day is holy. We look to the back of us, we have the Seder. We look to Tuesday and Wednesday, Wednesday and Thursday, we have Yom Tov again. That's holy. So surely we should be holy now. So you say, well, wait a second. If that's the case, says the Talmud, then every day of the whole year should be holy, because if you look back, you see Shabbat, and if you look forward, you see Shabbat. They say, no, that's different. Because on a regular weekday, we don't have any sacrifices. They say, yeah, but on Rosh Chodesh, you have a sacrifice, and there's no prohibition of work. It's not a holiday on Rosh Chodesh, the new moon. That's not a holiday. He says, yes, but that's different. This day is called Mikra Kodesh. This day is called a holy convocation. These 7 days. So that should surely be prohibited in work. We should not be able to work during these 7 days. A third thought is Eila Moadei Hashem. These are the holidays of God. What do you mean these? Well, there's Pesach, there's 7 days. Sukkot is 8 days. Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Shabbos. Eila Moadei Hashem. These are the holidays. You know what that includes? It includes all 7 days, all 8 days of Pesach, of Shavuot, of Sukkot, excuse me. All 8 days of Sukkot, all 7 days of Pesach. They're all included. They're all called Moed. They're all called a holiday. So that's another possible reading, another possible way of looking at it. And finally, the Talmud says, look, you can't say that all 7 days are equal, because the Torah does say that the first day and the last day are particularly prohibited in work. But you can't say that the middle days are nothing based on the various readings and interpretations we've given. So what's the answer? What is this day of Chol Hamoed? Lo mesarana katuv ela chachamim. The rabbis have been handed over the responsibility. Lomar lacha eze yom asur ve'eze yom mutar, eze mlacha asura ve'eze mlacha mutar. What are you allowed to do? What are we not allowed to do? The rabbis will tell us. The Torah didn't spell it out. The rabbis will indeed tell us. And in fact, they do. They tell us that there are certain things we can do and can't do. There are a lot of categories of things we're allowed to do on these days, and it pretty much permits almost everything. Zorech Hamoed. What do you need for today? You need to get in the car and go on a little trip. It's good. You can do that on Chol Hamoed. Maybe it's a davar haved. Maybe it's something you're going to lose. You're going to lose money. You don't work today. There's a lot of business that you're going to lose. You're going to lose that account. So you've got to go do that. Or tzorchei rabim, communal things. We want to broadcast this webcast for the whole community, all the viewers. We've got to do it. We've got to turn those lights on the camera. Or maaseh hedyot. That's simple things. I mean, turning on a light is maybe on Shabbat it's prohibited, but on Chol Hamoed it's a simple act. It doesn't take a great craftsman to make it. Now, weaving would be a different story, but just turning on a light, lighting a match, this is not prohibited on Chol Hamoed, on these intermediate days. And also, poel she'ein malo ma yochal. If you're a worker and you have nothing to eat, the rabbi said, you know what, you have nothing else to eat, you better go and earn a living, because otherwise you won't have any dinner for today at all. Of course, don't go out of your way. No tircha yetzera, no extra work. Don't go digging trenches on Chol Hamoed, but things you have to do, go do them on Chol Hamoed. So there are some things that are permitted. Now, what sort of prohibition is this? Is this a Torah holiday, or did the rabbis sort of concoct this notion of Chol Hamoed and some sort of limited prohibition of work? Where does it come from? So the Tosfot said, I don't know about you, but I never heard of a holiday that some of the things you can do, some of the things you can't do. Depends if you need to do it or you don't need to do it. He says, I never heard of such a thing. He says, hey, Chan Matzino, where do we ever find a Torah prohibition, mikzaso asur, mikzaso mutter? Some of it you can do, some of it you can't do. This can't be a Torah prohibition. This must be, it smells like, it looks like, it sounds like a rabbinic prohibition. The rabbis forbade work on this day. It's not a Torah holiday. So Chag Sameach, have a happy holiday from a rabbinic perspective. But from a Torah perspective, today is not a holiday, says Rabbeinu Tam, Rashi's grandson, one of the authors of the Tosfot. However, there are many medieval authorities, great Rishonim, great authorities who say that no, the Torah prohibits work today. After all, what did I just read you from the Gemara, from the Talmud? They interpreted the Torah to mean that you can't do all work today. Maybe some you can, some things you can't do. It's a Torah prohibition. And who says that? The She'iltot, from the days of the Gaonim, before Rashi, before the Rambam, the Rif, a rabbi who lived briefly before the Rambam. Rashi and Rashbam, Rashi and his grandson seem to imply that it's a Torah law. Today we have a Torah obligation to refrain from some forms of work. Now, the Ramban, Nachmanides, makes a compromise. He says, look, if something is not needed for the holiday, and there's no loss by skipping it and doing it at a different time, that's a Torah prohibition. That work that you do that you could have done next week, that's a Torah prohibition. But everything else is really just a rabbinic prohibition. Anything that the rabbis prohibited that was for the need of the holiday, or that was for great loss, that's just rabbinic. So some of the prohibitions today are rabbinic, some are a Torah prohibition. What about the Rambam? The Rambam, the great authority, what does he say? Whatever he says, that seems to be very authoritative, very important. Well, the Rambam says in the Laws of Yom Tov, chapter 7, he says, well, it's called Mikra Kodesh. It's called a holy convocation. So I think that should be a holy time. It's called a Shabbaton. It's called a Sabbath of sorts. And also you have to bring a Korban Chagiga. It's a time when either during the first day of Pesach or first day of Sukkot or during the later days of Sukkot, you've got to bring a personal sacrifice to celebrate the holiday. So today's an important day, and it can't just be a regular day. Kishar Yemei HaChol. It's not just a plain weekday. It's Chol Hamoed. It's a weekday of the holiday. It's a little different. So it sounds like the Rambam adopts the view that since it's referred to as a holiday, it's Torah prohibition, but then he says, and therefore if you violate this holiday, it's just a rabbinic prohibition, midivrei sofrim. So the Rambam, once again, contradicts himself. It's not absolutely clear what the Rambam holds, but that's part of the mystery of Chol Hamoed. What is Chol Hamoed? And what does the Rambam say? What do we say? What is the nature of this day on which we stand?